Hey everybody, welcome to Hope is Not a Tactic, the School Safety and Security Show. I'm your host, Lieutenant Joe Pangaro, and this is episode 3 of Pre-Employment Background Investigations. Now, all this information is brought to you. I was a school security director, I was a detective, I was a police lieutenant, I've been in private business, I'm a consultant, I do threat assessments, I'm out there in the world of school safety and security. I'm on the Campus Safety Magazine's Board of Experts. The past K-12 organization, I am considered a subject matter expert for them, and I have years and years of experience here. I've been trained by Department of Homeland Security in threat assessments, human threat assessments, and I'm an expert investigator. So when I bring this information to you, it is to help everybody in our schools keep people safe. So when we're talking about pre-employment background investigations, we started covering the different traits and things, and we're going to go into it a little bit more today. But let's thank our sponsors who bring this to you. I couldn't do this without them. RiotTint.com. They make the window safety glazing, right? You put on there and it helps keep people out that want to hurt you. Excellent stuff. Great company, Riot Tint. My publisher, Blue360Media.com. They are going to be publishing my books on school safety and security coming up soon. MedicalEssentialDiagnostics.com. All right, MedicalEssentialDiagnostics.com. They haven't sent me a poster yet, but they are an awesome New Jersey company that if you are any kind of a state, town, county worker, municipal worker, you can go to them at no cost to you and you can get a full health screening and find out that you're okay, that you're healthy, so you can live through your career and enjoy that pension. And our newest is W Energy Drinks. Really good stuff. I looked into this because it's a big thing now, energy drinks, and I actually like W. It's very tasty. All right, so I'm going to jump right in here because there's a lot of material here. So remember, Joe at pangarotraining.com. If you want any of this material, I'll email it to you, but just have to reach out and let me know you want it. All right, so we talked about work habits, interactions with others. In our last episode, we talked about moral character, handling stress and adversity. A couple more that we're going to look at here, and then I'm going to go into them a little deeper. Intellectually based abilities. Now, we would all think that anyone we hire that applies to us has a college degree and that they are an intelligent individual. Well, for the most part, that's absolutely true. You have to have a college degree, you have to have a teaching certificate so you can come into the schools. But does that mean everybody thinks clearly? Their judgment is the same as everybody else? Obviously not. When we see the problems that we have with some people that we hire, they look good in the interview, they sound good, we hire them, and then a year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, they get themselves in trouble, they're getting involved in things they shouldn't. So that's why we have to think a little bit more about what we're doing. And that's why here in episode 3, we want to make sure we cover some of those things. So let's see, decision making and judgment. So again, what I keep talking about is you should have a book, a binder with each one of these topics in it with a list of questions. You don't have to go just by my questions. Make up your own questions and put them in there, things that you'd want to know. All right. So decision making. Let's see. Problem analysis. How do they analyze things? Right. So you might think of something that's unrelated to schools and it's non-political, but it's going on out in the world. And you might ask them a question about how would you consider this material and how would you try and come up with some kind of an answer for it? So maybe it's water flow down the Colorado River. Now, they might not know anything about it, but the average person of average intelligence can think about that for a second. And you want to see the process of how they think, not necessarily the answer, because I don't know hydrology, but I do know that the Colorado River supplies a lot of water to the western states, and there's a lot of battles going on about it now. Because by the time that Colorado River gets to California, it's almost dried up. We need water. Right? Farmers need water. Cities need water. So I can think about, I would say, okay, well, I would want to know, well, what's the volume of water? Can we dam it up along the way? Can we make reservoirs along the way? Is there laws that already are in place that determine who gets what? Is there some way we can see what I mean? I would think my way through it. So you might want to ask some questions where you see them actually thinking. And you want to pick a topic that's not too difficult, but that's something that requires a little bit of thought. If we're going to go back to the moon and you were in charge of the program, what do you think your concerns would be? Now, you don't have to be an astronaut to think about that. You'd need what? Well, we need a rocket to get us there. We need life support to keep us going there. We need food and water once we're on the moon. We need protection from the ultraviolet, right? You could come up with stuff, right? So it's not as difficult as it seems. Think of them in advance. Think of them in advance. All right. Um, Adhering to policies and regulation. So some of our applications say things like, have you ever been suspended? Have you ever been demoted? Have you ever been this, that, and the other thing? You want to ask a question about that. Have you ever had a situation where you got written up for a violation of a policy? Now, of course, when you do your background and you find out that they have worked somewhere else before, whether it's a school or any other place, and you delve into that, you might already know they got written up 3 times for being late within 6 months at their previous job. So if they tell you, no, I've never had nothing, sometimes people can confuse a write up with a punishment. Sometimes they purposely don't want to talk about it. But if you know about it and you've done a good background investigation, you will know about it. Now, you see, all these things start to fit together. So you find out that they were written up 3 times for being late, and they tell you they were never disciplined, they were never written up. And you say, well, I found out from your last employer here, the Acme boxing company, that you were written up 3 times for being late. Did you forget about that? Now you look to their body language. Are they lying to you? Goes back to honesty and integrity that we talked about earlier. So that's how we start to weave all these things together to see what's in front of us. You know, one of the classic questions in an interview for a job, for getting hired, is tell me your strengths and tell me your weaknesses. And what do people do? Strengths, they can bat them out of the box. When it comes to weaknesses, do any of us want to talk about a weakness, especially when we're trying to get hired for a job? No, we don't want that to happen. So we try and avoid it. What most people do is they will take a positive trait and try and put it off as a negative. I try too hard. I care too much. I work too hard, right? Those are not negatives. Those are not weaknesses. Those are strengths camouflaged as weaknesses because nobody wants to tell you that. So you want to listen to the words that they have to say. And again, it goes to character, whether they're a good, decent person, are they telling you the truth? Now, if somebody was late 3 times in a month, what else would you want to know when you're doing your background investigation? How long did they work there is what you'd want to know. Did they work there for 2 months and they were late 3 times in a month? That's more impactful than, well, they worked there for 3 years. They were never late before, and then 3 times in a month. Now, as the investigator, I want to know what went on in that month that made them late. Did they just get lazy all of a sudden? Did they have car trouble? Were they taking care of a sick spouse, a parent, child that caused them to be late? There are reasons that things happen, and we can certainly judge them, the things, by the reasons that they happen. Okay. So if you find out that they were late 3 times because they had to take care of a sick elderly parent, okay, wouldn't that make a difference to you? That, and they were never late before that? Sure. But you want them to tell you that, right? That goes to integrity, honesty. How did you handle that difficult situation? So you connect this one to that one. What's an obstacle you had to deal with dealing with your elderly sick parent, and how'd you overcome it? How did you deal with the stress of that? See, all these things can come together based on their answers. So that's why you want to get the book, The Interview, from blue360media.com, so it can help you do all that. All right. Um, Response appropriateness and response assessment. So what does that mean? Response appropriateness. One of the things my partner Chuck used to do in a police interview is that we would try to find out that people were appropriate, that they dealt with other people different than themselves appropriately. Isn't that what we want out of our cops? Isn't that what we want out of everybody? We were in a very diverse community, and there was all different groups of people, all different religions, nationalities, races, and we would have to police them all. Well, in schools, don't we do the same thing? Don't we have to teach all these different children? Right? So he would ask some questions that was kind of probing to see if he could find out if this person had any negative connotations about people that were different than him or her. Right? So he would ask very basic questions, scratch at the surface, um, to see if these people would reveal themselves, because very often they will. The more comfortable with you they are, the more they'll reveal the truth about how they believe. And what do we want? Remember what we want. What's our premise for hiring people? Good, decent people that can do the job. That's all we're looking for. We don't care about all those other things. A good, decent person that can do the job. All right. So this is an important intellectually based type of. How about learning ability? Right? You might ask a question, what did you take in high school? What did you take in college? What did you minor in? Do you have hobbies? Do you try other things? Are you trying to learn things? Um, because that shows someone who's thinking all the time, that their brain is active, that they're trying to expand themselves. Isn't that good? Don't we want that? We do want that in a person. What they're expanding themselves into, that could be problematic if that's a whole nother video. All right. So, for me personally, I always liked creative writing. I liked creative writing. I like to write stories. I like to write plays. I write music. I do all kinds of things to let out my creative side, right? Which says to me, if I'm an employer looking at Joe, Joe's got skill sets. He's got education. He thinks things through, and he's very creative. He does music and writing and this and that. How can that help us in our job? How is that going to help a teacher to be creative, right? And that's just one aspect to think of and consider. All right. So intellectually based abilities. Another thing that we find, um, a test we used to use, people would come in and you find out now, probably not in teaching so much because this is really what you're educated on as you go through the schools, through your college education, is we would take a piece of paper and we would hand it to the person with a pen and say, you have 5 minutes. Do me a favor. Just give me a quick couple paragraphs on what you did last Saturday. Doesn't matter what it is. You washed the floor, you slept in bed all day, you went to the park, whatever. Give me 2, 3 paragraphs of what you did. Now, do we really care what they did last Saturday? No. What are we looking for? We're looking for their ability to quickly think, put things in order, and then write it down so it's cohesive. Isn't that what we want from our teachers? Isn't that what we're teaching the kids? Right? So that's an easy one. Here, write something down here. Give me 2, 3 paragraphs. You got 5 minutes. Right? And they should be able to do that. All right. What's this here? Integrity. So one of the things that I do in this program is not only do I tell you what I think is important, integrity, moral character, honesty, all that, is I give you some definitions of it. Right. So here's an example of integrity. This involves maintaining high standards of personal conduct. It consists of attributes such as honesty, impartiality, trustworthiness, abiding by law, regulation, and procedure. Right. Our schools are filled with procedures and regulations, safety and security procedures, regulations, teaching, interacting, reporting, all of that stuff. So think of questions for each one of those things and have it in your book ready to go. All right. Let's see. Here's an important thing. What do you do when you find out someone's been dishonest in the hiring process? They've been dishonest in the hiring process. And we all know that sometimes when you don't hire someone and they think they should be hired, it could turn into a lawsuit. They could come after you and say, well, you didn't pick me because of A, B, C, and D. When in reality, we didn't choose you because you weren't a good and decent person. You lied in the application. We found out all these things that were negative about you, and we decided we didn't want you in our school, right? But they will often fall back on all of the societal concerns. Well, you didn't hire me because of my race. You didn't hire me because of my gender. You didn't hire me because how tall I am. You didn't hire me because of my ethnicity. And if any of that is true, shame on you, right? Because what's our basic rule? Are they a good, decent person? And can they do the job? That's what we go by. That's what we go by. Anything else is not correct. But if we find out that somebody didn't meet these standards, they do have all kinds of personality trait problems that make them unsuitable, and you say we're not going to hire them, they might sue you. And when they come back, you want to have answers for this. So what did we do in law enforcement? One of the things we did, we included our internal affairs officer in the hiring process. The internal affairs officer came in, he or she came in and sat down. Hi, I'm with internal affairs. And I want to go over this application with you and want to let you know that if there's anything in this application or during these interviews that you lie about, you make up, you embellish, and turns out is not true, we're going to be able to document all of that right from the beginning. What's the reason for this? If someone's going to lie, embellish, make things up, or hide things during the hiring process, what are they going to do when they're in that classroom, in your building with the students, right? What are they going to do? They're going to get themselves in trouble. So we want to uncover all of these things before we hire them, so we don't have to worry about removing people from employment and all that kind of stuff going down the road. So this is important. So what do you have in schools that you can do that? Do you have an administrator? Do you have a security officer that can play that role? Do you have someone in the union, in the school union, that's willing to come in and sit down and say, hey, just so you know, we're here to defend you when you have problems, but if you lie in the application, that's a big problem. Whoever it is, you think about it, have that person involved with the hiring process right from the beginning so that there's no mistakes. And you can figure out if somebody lied or they were dishonest in the hiring process, they're probably going to have a problem down the road. And that's how we find these things. All right. Let's see. That's lying in the past. We talked about that. Impulse control. Driving record. Why do I think that's important? Well, just like I said, social media is who we really are. We go on social media and make sure you have a social media policy and that you check their social media, like probably even before you interview. Go on and look for them on Facebook and Instagram and on X or any of these other places, any other platforms where people go on social media. You get the application as the investigator, go there right away because if they find out they're getting the interview, they may blank those things out and then you miss good things and bad things about them. So make sure you have a social media policy. The driving record. When I'm in my car by myself, that's who I am. Am I a road rager? Am I someone who speeds all the time? Now, most of us speed. Let's not kid ourselves. I was a cop. We all know that the Garden State Parkway speed is 65 miles an hour. Well, it's very hard to find anybody on that parkway doing 65 miles an hour. Everybody's doing 70, 75. Some people are doing 80. And there'll be a police officer right there watching the traffic, doing radar. And people are passing them at 75 and they don't pull them over. How come? Because that's what everybody is doing. It becomes the standard, the norm, even though it's against the law, right? But it's a tolerance that people have for that, right? So when we look at your driving record, now you get somebody who gets a careless driving, they get reckless driving, they get like speeding 95 and a 65. Now you're talking somebody who's doing it way out of line. They're not in the norm, right? They're not in the norm. They're way beyond that. Maybe they're a heavy duty risk taker. Maybe they got a bunch of tickets in a row. Would I look at someone's driving record at 16, 17, and 18? Probably not too much. Because when we're 16, 17, 18, the world is different. We drive terribly. We're not good. When you start to get into your 20s, like when people are going to start applying to us after college as they get more mature, you realize that speeding is dangerous. You shouldn't do it. Driving recklessly is dangerous. You shouldn't drink and drive. You shouldn't use drugs and drive, all those kind of things. So if you see a bunch of tickets, 16, 17, 18, and then nothing, maybe at 20, 21, they got a red light ticket, but then nothing up to the application, that would indicate to me they have matured. Would I ask about those tickets? Yes, I would. I would ask about, well, boy, you had that's kind of reckless. That was kind of dangerous, don't you think? Why did you change? How come you didn't stop getting tickets? You want to hear the answer. The answer, well, I realized I was just crazy when I was first started driving. I wasn't really good at it and I got better. Oh, that's what we want, right? We want people to learn from life's lessons. So the driver's license is very, very important check you should put in there. Let's see. Impulse and anger control. How about if they overreact when they're challenged? Are they going to be challenged? Especially with older children, older students may challenge the teachers. How many videos do we see on social media where these kids can be difficult, dangerous, and they challenge the teacher? How does the teacher handle it? Right? Little kids, they challenge people too, right? How's that teacher going to react? So you might ask a question about road rage. Have you ever had somebody cut you off? That's a good one. We all drive. We all have come across that. How about you're in the left lane and you're late to get somewhere, and there's a car in front of you that will not move out of the left lane, and they're doing 15 miles an hour under the limit. How does that make you feel, right? So you see these basic kind of questions. Um, Again, my partner Chuck, brilliant guy. What he used to do to ask a question, because you want to set up a scenario where the person has to answer you. He would set up a scenario where he would find out something that they're really into, right? So you want to ask about what's your hobbies, what do you do in your spare time, all that kind of thing. And he found this one young man who seemed pretty squared away, and he was a lacrosse player, right? He was a really big deal lacrosse player in high school and college. And he's talking to this young man, and he says, "Hey, I see on here you play lacrosse." And the kid, oh, very proud of it. Oh, yeah, I was on two state championship. That's good. He goes, "Yeah, why didn't you play like a real sport? I mean, why'd you pick lacrosse? That's like, that's a stupid sport. Why didn't you pick like football or baseball?" Well, this is now challenging this young man personally, challenging his choices, his decisions, his values by going after something that he loves, his sport. And we've had people say, "Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I thought it was a great sport. I enjoyed every minute of it and I was good at it. So, but football didn't interest me. Lacrosse I thought was great. And here's the 5 reasons that I really liked it." Great answer. We've had other people turn around and go, "What are you talking about? You never played? I guess you never played it. Maybe you didn't have the skill set for it like I did. Maybe if you would try," and like their reaction was horrible. Like you could see somebody going to be challenged. How are they going to respond to that? Teachers are challenged all the time. Parents. I couldn't believe when I saw parents come in and lose their minds on these teachers, on people in the transportation department because they didn't like the bus stops. They lose their minds. So we want to make sure that people are good and they can handle challenges and adversity. All right. So this is episode 3. Like I said, I'm not trying to make these too long, but there's a lot of information here and we're going to keep on going. All right. So we'll see you on the next one. We'll see you on episode 4 coming up next, where we're going to start wrapping this up. This might be 4 and 5, and then you got to get the program. Joe@pangarotraining.com. I will put it in the notes for the show, and you can reach out to me, and I will send you the whole program. And like I said, I'm going to try and turn it into a book. All right, so let's be a part of the solution, not a part of the problem. Hope is not a tactic. Do the right things everywhere, and pre-employment background investigations are very, very important. Remember our sponsors. Check them out. If you need a window tinting for your school, tinting, or if you need glazing so you can keep bad people out, check them out. Blue 360, medicalessentialdiagnostics.com, and get some Dubby energy drink. You help Lieutenant Joe. Have a great day, everybody.